What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. Today, we're doing a podcast audit with my pod pal, Christina from the Build Your Digital Community podcast. Christina, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to learn from you.
Yes, well, we're connected, and I'm always excited to level somebody up like yourself that's got so much great content, so many great ideas already. So this is I like doing podcast audits, but it's always kind of a breath of fresh air when I get somebody that's kind of in the game a little bit, and we can kind of work on not necessarily the ground level, but kind of the next level. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, how's that sound so far? You pumped up for this?
Yes, so pumped. And especially because I feel like podcasting and anyone listening might resonate with this. Like podcasting feels like one of these things, like you're like always just like going after it. And like until you start like making sales off of it or whatever it looks like, or people start telling you the impact you're making, it feels like you're just like talking into a mic. So I'd love to continue to do that and impact more people.
Yes. So let's set a goal for our session today. Let's look 6 months out. If things are going really well between now and then, what type of progress would you like to be seeing with your brand and with your business and with your show?
Mhm. I think for me, for 6 months out, it would be seeing more agency clients probably coming through the podcast. Like, I don't get a lot of discovery calls from the podcast. It's pretty rare. And I think listening, like the downloads up as well. That's something that I've been kind of working on, especially starting working with you,
Right.
is trying to kind of increase that. So for me, success in 6 months would look like an increase in downloads and seeing more discovery calls come from the pod.
Okay. And what would you identify as kind of potential roadblock or point that we need to really focus on to kind of crack the code and solve a little bit here today?
Mm. I think sometimes when I think about my podcast, I feel like it lacks a little direction. The way I started it was really about community and about business. And I don't know that that's always what comes up in the conversation. So curious if maybe that's kind of a roadblock in terms of the numbers are growing like every week, but in like massive growth, I think might be a piece of it. So that's a piece for me, but I think just getting
Okay.
clearer on the direction.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I wanted to take this. I'm glad that you brought
Cool.
this up. Like anytime somebody's like, I want to get clients, I want to do more discovery calls, I want ideal listeners to become ideal clients. And the thing that's really helped me with that is just really, it takes a little bit of time to figure out who we want to work with and who we can help the most. And then going, okay, how do I reverse engineer that into my content and my show and my branding, my SEO, so that the exact right people are finding me? So, an example of my brand is I used to have a lot of people kind of wanting to come in and talk sponsorships and things like that. And I can definitely consult on that. And I help people, with that situation. But my wheelhouse is really service providers that want to get more clients. Like that's
Mm.
what I would say I'm more at an excellent level with. And that is, I had to reverse engineer that and really start using that type of language more in my content and like tips for online coaches, consultants, service providers, and really just calling those people out over and over and over. And they see that those terms that they use to describe themselves are in my content. They're in
Mm.
the episode titles. I created that whole limited series podcast monetization tips for online coaches, consultants, and service providers. It is for you. So that has helped a ton. So when you have a show called Build Your Digital Community Podcast, maybe we add a title extension, or maybe we add a few of those very specific terms of like who it's for. Like I
Yeah.
would experiment with that first. Go, let's do a title extension, build your digital community, tips for, or conversations for, and then like just call out the people that you want as ideal clients. So are
Mm.
they online entrepreneurs, podcasters, digital marketers, like those types of terms? I think it helps for brand positioning, helps with SEO as well. Um, so thoughts on that so far?
Mhm. Yeah, it resonates for sure because I do think that's probably part of the problem is that really like when I think about who listens to the podcast and gets most value, it's like early stage entrepreneurs, but those people actually aren't even my ideal clients. Like my ideal clients is someone a little bit more mid stage where they might have money to invest in something like social media or podcast management.
Right.
So it's interesting. Those are the people who I feel like get the most from it, but they're like ideal clients in 5 years or 3 years kind of thing. But what I'm curious about is like a title extension. When does a title get too long?
Great question. My my cheeky answer to that is when you run out of characters in whatever podcast host that you are entering it. So for me, um, I think people maybe get confused when mention a really long title extension. And what I'm talking about really is just the title line on your host. So I use Libsyn,
Mm,
and I'm like, I'm going to jam as many ideal keywords in that title box as I can. My show is called Podcasting Business School. That's what it's known as. When I'm on a stage, I'm like, hey, I'm Adam from Podcasting Business School. It's not. I'm Adam from Podcasting Business School. Tips for online coaches, consultants, service providers, blah, 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 blah.
yes.
So that's the only space I use it, and it's for a very specific purpose of SEO. And then on my image, you can throw those little key phrases in there. Like with my new show, it really helped when I launched podcast monetization tips. On the art, it says for online coaches, consultants, service providers. It's highlighted, so those people that those words represent, their eyeballs go to those words and go, "Oh, that's me. This is for me."
Mm,
Um, so I think there's something to that for sure. Um, so I mean, I think that we can make that sucker as long as we need to get the right words in there. I'm a big fan of the regular name. I think build your digital community. Boom. Conversations for, tips for, conversations about, and then
mhm,
let's list a couple of keywords, two to three keywords, ideally they're keywords and descriptive terms. So social media marketing, social media entrepreneurs, um, you know, just if it can fit both sides of that coin of it is a keyword and it also describes who I want as an ideal client.
mhm.
Online marketers, um, six-figure entrepreneurs. Like if you want that next stage person, what type of words do they use to describe themselves? You know,
Mm,
like that is something you can use as an attractor. And the six-figure mark might be something to stick in there. Tips for six-figure social media marketing success, or social
yeah.
media tips for six-figure earners, or digital marketing advice for six-figure earners, like something like that. And the word scale is kind of something that represents that next level. I've in my own experience, people that are using, like, they describe themselves as a six-figure earner, or they describe themselves as somebody that is interested in scaling their business. These aren't launch people, these aren't ground level people, these are like,
Mhm,
okay, I'm going next level with this. So I would just think of terms like that. I would grab some of your ideal clients that already fit the bill and be like, what words do you use to describe yourself? Like, out of all this batch of words here, what resonates with you? What makes you go, oh, that's me. That's the show for me. Do a little boots on the ground research with that, and then just start plugging that into your content, social media. I mean, that's your wheelhouse. So I mean, it's
mhm,
just like flashing green lights of these words. And honestly, it's really simple for me. Once I figured out that my ideal clients are online coaches, consultants, service providers, and those are the words they use to describe themselves. That's what I say all the time. Like, hey, if you're an online coach, a consultant, service provider, you're trying to build an email list through your podcast, here are some lead magnet strategies for you. And it's just like, or whatever the topic of the episode is, just over and over and over again. So when I'm doing discovery
mhm,
calls, like, I've really noticed since I started doing this, my discovery calls, I'm doing more of them, and
mhm.
it's the ideal people. There's no, like, tire kicker, looky loo people that are like, "Well, I actually just wanted to talk to you for a little bit." Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we still get those every once in a while, and, that's cool.
Yes.
But a lot of people, like 99.9% are like, "Let's get down to business, buddy. Let's,
Mhm.
like, you're the guy for me. I'm the person for you. Let's talk business."
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my personal experience. I've had a few of my clients really lean into this with the shift. And it can be a little bit nerve wracking with a brand like you've already built and established to kind of winnow things down a little bit and be like, this is for this specific type of
Mhm.
person. But this is where like tools like limited series podcasts, you could maybe do an offshoot brand, one of those, and like test the waters a little bit. Oh, it takes off. Okay, validation. Let's add this to the big brand. Or you could do a series of episodes and do like a workshop week. And instead of one episode, we go 5 episodes, and it's for this specific person,
Mm.
and see if you get like rowdy engagement and really good commentary and feedback. That's something I'd probably look at and just go, okay, I think these are my people. I'm going to really give that ideal person what they want for a whole week, 5 episodes. Let's see what the reaction is and kind of go from there. So, any thoughts on those ideas?
Yeah, no, that resonates. I think, yeah, getting clearer on that. I think the title piece will be helpful too. I actually thought you were going to tell me to shorten my title. That's what I
Never.
thought. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's really helpful.
Yeah, I like it. I like build your digital community,
Mhm.
and then tips for conversations about keyword, and
Yeah.
build your digital community is a cool name. I feel like it's I get what it's about. It's
Yeah.
not like the Christina show. Oh,
Yeah.
conversations with Christina. Uh, you know, I don't know what that's about. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're off to a good start there. The other thing, like with your calls to action with your show, what are we doing in that space? Are we like where are we sending people? Are you going like social media route? Are we talking about discovery calls on the show? What's that look like?
Yeah, great question, Adam. I think so. I have in my little outro, we have like a connect with us on social, but I don't do a good job of at the end of episodes being like, hey, connect with us on social or let me know what you think about this or anything like that, which is so funny because like I own a social media agency. So I'm always like, CTAs, everyone.
Yeah.
But I don't do much like in the podcast episode to kind of bring people anywhere.
Okay. So two things again that this is kind of like one of those Bruce Lee absorb what is useful
Yeah.
moments. So two things that have really moved the needle for me with my discovery calls. One is my above the fold button on my homepage is the discovery call button.
Hmm.
So it's there, and I use my homepage as the hub. So people have to go through that to get to whatever I'm talking about. So if I'm like, go grab my podcast growth scorecard, go to the main website, click on the freebie button, but they have to scroll past the discovery call to get to the freebie button. Or check out my latest blog post, go to the website, scroll to the blog. And so that's the
Hmm.
hub. I always direct all my people, all my traffic to the main website. So I'm getting a lot more people going, oh, I saw the discovery call and that sounded like a good fit for me. And I signed up. The other thing that's really moved the needle is just consistent week after week after week intro and outro of my podcast with the only call to action is, hey, if you are an online consultant, service provider, online coach, and you're wanting to leverage your show to grow your brand and earn 5 figures a month, 6 figures a year, whatever, that is this is the podcast profit potential discovery call. This is the thing for you. Intro and outro, week after week after week after week, and that getting all those reps in, I really started to see my discovery call calendar ramp up. So
Mm,
I've been challenging people. I'm like, go 12 weeks in a row. Don't talk about anything else. Just mention discovery calls and watch what happens.
mm,
And I think it helps in our space in the podcaster and podcast listener space in that relationship, because so many people listen to famous people
mhm,
and you can't touch those people. You know what I'm saying? You
mhm.
don't, you have zero access to those people.
Yes.
And so a discovery call of, hey, I want to get on Zoom with you for 20 minutes. Here's what it's going to look like. Here's what we're going to talk about. If it makes sense to work together, we'll go through those options. So kind of unpack it a little bit. But it's just like opening the door. You got access to me. Let's go. Like let's chat
Mhm,
about this. And just keeping that door open and open, reminding and reminding and reminding that. I mean, it works so well. I've had so many people that are like, I don't need to do any other CTAs, do I? I'm like, nope. If you
mm,
want to get clients from your show, like you're mentioning your website to get to the discovery call, all your other things are on the website. They're going to go and
mhm,
choose their own adventure anyway. But the discovery call is the ultimate like stone that we want to hop onto before becoming a client. The third thing that
mhm,
has really helped me with the discovery calls is actually shortening the window of when people can sign up for one. So what I
Mhm.
mean by that is you hop on my website, you're going to see a 10-day window. You can't book a discovery call for a month from now. I don't want to talk to you
Right.
a month from now. I want to talk to you ASAP while you're excited to talk to me.
Mm.
So I shortened it to a 10-day window. And I don't know if that helps with the amount of discovery calls, but the quality has gone way up with people that are like real deal. Let's take action. Somebody that books a month from now, 2 months from now on your calendar, they probably won't even show up. Like
Mhm.
that's highly unlikely. I used to do 5 days, but then it just started filling up too quick. So I had to extend it out to 10 days. So I've got a week and a half, and when I converted to a 3-day work week, that also presented its own problems. I was like, whoa, okay, I gotta have at least 6 days of options where they could potentially sign up. So that 10-day window works pretty nicely there. So those three factors with the link on the website, the 12 weeks in a row
Mm.
of CTAs on the show, and then doing just all that mixed together with the repetitions of people hearing it across my brand, big time, big time
Mhm.
results. So, any thoughts?
Can I
Any ideas popping out? Questions?
Yeah, can I ask a follow-up question that sounds obnoxious? I don't mean it to be. But how do you keep it from like, because I think I don't have a public discovery call link anywhere. Like, no, nobody could book a call with me publicly. And I think my fear is because based on the inquiries I got on my website, I often get people who are like not qualified leads. Like hopefully one day, but like not today. So I don't really want to open my calendar. Like this is a
Mm,
limiting belief. So you could just be like, you're wrong.
yeah, yeah.
But like I don't want to open my calendar and then like have all these like, folks booking calls and then, taking away from other things that I could be doing. Even though I really value the relationships. But yeah, I think that that's been my like kind of rub on that.
Okay, this is valid. So we have to safeguard our time and our calendar, and just like people that are just trying to take advantage and get a freebie out of
Mhm.
you. So I think it's a process of opening it up and then reverse engineering the bad experiences and going, okay,
Mm.
that was a terrible one. What could I have done to distract or to detract them from signing up? That's how I kind of came up with my sign up window. That tends to help a little bit, um, because the people that just kind of want to mess around, they'll book. Oh, can I get? I'm really busy the next 3 months. Can we do one in February of next year? I'm like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? So you are not very serious.
No.
So that helps. Also, I've got like 10 questions on there. So they have to fill out
Mm.
some information to hit and book. And, if you put it on the other side of like an email opt-in, that's another barrier of like, I got to give an email. And then maybe the discovery call sign up comes in the email and they have to like go through that. So they have to give a valid email. And people that are
Mm.
just japping around aren't going to do all that. And then the questions that you ask in the discovery call, like one of my things, I state like we can talk about sponsorships, but this is ideal if you're an online coach, consultant, service provider, want to make money through coaching,
Mm.
service, selling more of your stuff. So I make that very apparent. Then I also ask them to define their pain point, and I go, hey, if I have a program, product, or service that can help you solve this pain point, what budget range are we talking about here? And I
Mm.
have them list all these budgets, and don't start at zero. Don't be like $0 to $5 or whatever. It's
Yeah.
like whatever your offers are priced at, make sure that they're all represented at the different price tiers or whatever. So maybe it's like $100 to 500, 500
Mm.
to 2,000, 2,500 to 5,000, and have people self-identify in those zones. And honestly, I probably would say 1 out of 20 discovery calls is somebody just kinda wanting to hang out, and
Yeah.
19 people are at least looking at it, like, let's take a look at working together. And I also think really clearly defining what a discovery call is, just when you do the call to action on your show, and also in the process, like, hey, this isn't a free coaching call, but what it is I'm going to help you define something. Mine's called a podcast profit potential discovery call. I'll be like, I'm going to identify something that you need to fix that'll help you get more profits from your show. Um,
Mm.
and then if I have something that can help you accelerate that result, we can talk about that. That's what we're going to be doing. So Um, yeah, so I think that's something that will help. Like you just gotta kind of get out there and test it out and
Yeah.
see if you get an overabundance of people that are just not ideal or just there for the freebie, then we got to change some stuff up, put more like poison pill questions in the onboarding, make it really long, put it behind a double email opt-in or whatever you got to do. But I think it is a valid fear to have, and
Mhm.
that's I'm glad you're thinking that way because it is important to protect our calendar, not just be like, I do free coaching and you can just hop on my calendar and whatever.
Mhm.
Feel free to no show me. Um, so show up or whatever, who cares? Like
Yeah.
that's not the vibe we want to put out. So
Mhm.
I think all those factors put together, you can kind of have this discovery call recipe and you get serious people, ideal fit people that are actually
Mhm.
they understand what they're getting into. This isn't free coaching. We're talking about identifying a pain point, potentially working together. Um, yeah, and not hiding from that either. I think a lot of people kind of like they're afraid to say what it is. And it's not necessarily
Yes.
a sales call. It's like it's in between free coaching and a sales call. That's like the discovery call is like the bridge between those things. And um my friend Jan Ditchfield kind of got me on board with this concept. I'm like, okay, now I see it for what it is. It's the bridge in between. So yeah, you're gonna get a little free nugget out of this of that pain point identification. Here's what I would change if I were you. Here's how I would go about doing it. And if you want me to help you, here's what that looks like. So, and
Mm.
then we can have a conversation right there about it or a conversation down the road about working together. So, is that helpful?
Yeah, super helpful. I think I had definitely had a mental block around that, around like putting out my calendar. And I'm even thinking about, I always allow my discovery calls to be half an hour. Maybe they could be 15 minutes. And like
Yeah.
if they're a colder lead kind of thing, and being really upfront about like where our retainers start at. And so yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah, definitely less than 30 minutes. Well, my personal rule is if I spend over 30 minutes with somebody, I have to be getting paid for it. Like
Hmm.
that's so I like that. Mine are 20 minutes. I feel like that keeps us on task and we got to jump right in. Like
Hmm.
even if somebody's a fan of the show and like they're excited to talk to you and stuff, which is always cool. I'm like, hey, that's awesome. Now let's really dig it. I mean, honestly, when I start my discovery calls, I'm like, hey, it's great to meet you. I see that you're wanting to work on X, Y, and Z. Is that still correct? Okay, cool. I want to make
Yeah.
use of it, best use of our time here. Let's dive on in. So I just hit the ground running
Yeah.
basically. Um, because it is easy to be like, and where are you from? Oh, and I'm from here. And let's tell some stories. And all of a sudden we got 7 minutes left and it's not effective
Yeah.
for them or for me. So yeah, I think that we kind of just got to concoct this discovery call stew and attract the right people with your branding, potential SEO title extension, and just put it out there and invite. Maybe start with a more narrow window of 5 to 7 days to get on your calendar, and not
Yep.
every day, not every day of the week either. Like, definitely have your pockets, and I like to put them back to back. So I'm kind of in my discovery call rhythm, one after the
Mm.
next. You kind of get warmed up. It's like working out. You got to do, got to warm up the muscles first, and then you kind of get your rhythm and you're off and running. And that way they see that like, oh, spots are limited. I can only book out the next 5 days. This is I got to get on this. A little bit of fear of missing out, maybe. And I think the serious people, the cream will rise, as they say. And
Mhm.
I, I feel like the way that you come across in your brand is very similar to the way I come across in my brand. We're real, we're authentic. I think people respect that. Um,
Mhm.
and that leads to people like showing up that actually want to talk business. So
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Super helpful.
good, good. I actually, a good example of this. I had a listener that contacted me and we did a discovery call like a year ago. And we came to the mutual conclusion like it just wasn't the right time for him to invest money in what I do. And then he emails me. He's like, Adam, I've exploded. I've had over 100,000 downloads since we last talked. I think it's time. I'm like, it sounds like it's time. And we talked today, earlier today. And he's like, yeah, I think we're going to do some business now. And so just kind of putting yourself out there like that, you never know what it's going to lead to down the road. That happens to me a lot where I talk to somebody and then
Mhm.
6 months down the road, they do a thing that I put out there that's a new program or service. And so I think just kind of planting those seeds, never know what's going to happen. Cool.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Outstanding. I want to give you the spotlight to shout out your brand. So where do people go if they want to hang out, social media, the website, all the things.
Yeah. So definitely you can come find me on Instagram. That's where I'm best. Christina.bartold. Spell my name with a K because I'm Polish. And yeah, and just check us out at thesocialsnippet.com. We've got tons of resources for people on all things social and podcasting. And who knows, my podcast will get a little facelift. You'll be seeing that from me working with Adam.
Yes, let's go. Let's go. All right, Pod Pals, if you can do a podcast audit just like Christina with a K, you need to hop on my website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. I'm now booking for 2024. I'm not doing any podcast audits in December because I'm doing family things in December, as I love to do at the end of the year. So hop on for 2024. It's going to be a great way to kick off your new year of podcasting. We can set up your game plan. Hop on the website, and I will see you for your very own podcast audit. And with that, Pod Pals, I'm going to send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time.